Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of our friggin' amazing International Collector Series. I have the honor to sit down with Alex from Australia here. Hi, Alex.
Hello, Hannah. How are you?
Good, good. And some of you guys might be familiar with Alex and have seen her before. She's a huge part of our Women of the Hobby movement with Sam. She's a big supporter. We haven't seen her in person just yet, but we're hoping that happens very soon. But a big fan of Alex, and everybody loves her. So we're very excited to have you on board, Alex.
I'm honored to be on this thing today, Hannah. I really am, and thank you for that. It was very kind.
Let's get started a little bit, Alex. You are studying right now in university, and in that busy schedules of exams and projects and whatever else going on in your life, you found the time to, be actively collecting, the cards and players that you love. We'd love to ask, how you got started in the journey.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. Yeah, so I like to say that I basically, entered the hobby when I was 5 years old. So I mean, I'm 22 now, so I like to say I'm a little bit of a veteran. But I was five, and it probably was very untraditional way of entering the hobby because again, back in 2005, 2006, there was basketball cards certainly weren't a thing, like they are today. And I think for me, I was influenced heavily by my dad. So my dad has been involved in Aussie rules footy, like sort of the managerial sort of secretarial aspects of it for, decades. And I think he's also got a really massive, love of sports memorabilia, and he does a lot of, sports consultancy work and stuff. But so I think I just remember that, he was the one who sort of introduced me to cards in the sense that, I have memories of every Saturday morning of just, going to here we call them news agencies. So just like shops where it sell like magazines and newspapers and stuff. And they always have like little boxes of like footy cards on the counter. And I used to get, my pocket money was originally $2. It went up to $5. And so I always got like one packet every week. Then I think it went up to maybe 2 or 3 packets of like AFL cards a week. So that's sort of where it all started. And again, it really developed since then. I think my first pack of NBA cards was like the 2010-11. So, I think it was just after, Steph Curry rookie year.
Yeah.
I think the Prestige. I reckon a 10-11 Prestige, and I think the big rookie was John Wall, I think.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I think last time, when I spoke with Sam, I said, I remember getting a pack of 09-10 Upper Deck, obviously, Steph Curry rookie card.
Yeah.
And I graded it, and it got a 7, which I've had it for a long time, and it's been in drawers. It's been in everything.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, the corners were soft. But yeah, so that's sort of how it all started.
Man, John Wall, he's not playing anymore. He's retired, right?
I think so.
I think he went to Rockets, and then
it was Wizards, and then he was with the Wizards, and I think he went to the Rockets, and
and I think that might have been his last run. That's hilarious. Well, I my only wish is you started in 2009 and collected Currys versus
you can say that. just forget the earlier years. Just started with Steph Curry. Just went all in.
Oh yeah, look at him right now. Oh, that's so cool. And I know that you are great friends with Grayson as well. How did you begin sort of working with him together in pursuing your passion?
Yeah, that was actually, I first walked into Cherry, our store, in the end. It was either end of 2018 or 2019. The irony is that I was actually going through all my stuff, and I was just wanting to. I'd taken a long gap of leave from the hobby to focus on school and whatever. And I was going through all my stuff, and I found these old basketball cards, including that Steph Curry rookie. And I'm like, oh, Steph Curry, I think he's good, So I thought, I think I was planning on selling it, and I literally just did a Google search of, card stores in Melbourne, because I think, just really quickly, just jumping, I think that something that's sort of different about, the hobby in Australia is that there aren't as many bricks and mortar stores like there are in America. So
Gotcha.
we have maybe 2 in Melbourne. We probably have 2 or 3 that like I really know of like quite well. But then, I mean, including Cherry. But yeah, so it was sort of just true. Yeah, so I literally did a Google search. I'm like, oh, Cherry Collectibles. They look good.
Yeah.
I walked in, and I asked, what the, would it be worthwhile selling this? And Josh, who's our operations manager, was serving me at the counter, and he said, he would buy it, but he's like, I would keep it, and I had no intention of going into that store to buy, to get back into the hobby, but it was through just the general interactions I had with them that I got back into the hobby, like really full steam, and just sort of got to know the guys there. Got to know Blake, our full-time breaker, well, and then it was then that I met, Grayson and Josh, and it was probably in 2020. Yeah, it was sort of the end of the crazy year that it was. I'd finished up my job at I worked at one of the local supermarkets, and I'd finished that up with that job. And Grayson, I was in store, and he was saying that he was looking for someone to do, front of store kind of serving customers. Yeah, that's sort of how it all started. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Wow, well, whoever told you to keep that card, amazing.
Yeah, I know. I basically can give Josh all the credit for me being in the hobby, because if I'd sold that, if he'd said, oh yeah, if I'd made that decision to have sold it, I wouldn't be here. I really wouldn't be here. So I'll give Josh all the credit. Yeah.
That's incredible. And for those of you who are listening and aren't aware, there's this amazing shop out in Melbourne, Cherry Collectibles, headed up by great people like Alex and Grayson. If you're ever in the area, go check it out. And funny thing that we just found out before we started recording is Alex literally lives a street across from the freaking Melbourne GP. Oh my god! Like when she told me, I was just like, "Why would you tell me that now?"
I know. I just wanted to make Hannah jealous, everyone. But
she's one aquarium or swimming stadium. I forget one thing in between the Albert Park where the race happens and her home, which is incredible.
I'm literally like on the doorstep of the Grand Prix. And we had it a few weeks ago. Feels like
3 weeks ago or so. Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't go, but the bar. I've lived in the same house for all my life, and so the Grand Prix is always a feature every year. All the people that come here, all the planes that fly over, and just because again, we're big. Quite a lot of motorheads here in Australia, so I mean we've just always loved Formula One racing. So I think just seeing it people in it kind of catch on in America, and everyone's beginning to really, really enjoy it is really cool. And we had something like 300,000 people across like 3 days come, which for Melbourne is huge, because I mean we haven't had the event for 2 years because of COVID. So
and also there's an active driver by the name of Daniel Ricciardo, who's an Aussie himself, and so I'm sure the excitement was beyond.
I love him. I'm totally in love. Totally in love. We love him.
Of course.
He just that smile, Hannah. He just lights the room up with that smile. I was so close to closing out a deal on getting my first ever Danny Rick auto from Top Sport this year, but I missed out and it fell through, and I'm sort of kicking myself. But because I don't actually have an F1 card yet.
What? No way.
No, yes, sell me all your Daddy Rick.
No, I'm going to send you one. I'm taking a note right now. Send Alex Ricciardo cards.
Yes. So he's huge here. We absolutely love him. I think we actually just love any Australian athlete who's made it.
Of course. And that's the thing about Formula One that a lot of people don't understand is this is beyond just the player and the team that they drive for, but it's actually a global sort of competition. It's like World Cup every weekend on the grid. So
Yeah.
like there's no South Korean racers out there, but any like Asian drivers like Yuki, who's been doing an amazing. He did, I think, P7 last race in Imola. Just like, yeah, like I don't even like. So there's definitely a bit of that, and then like the British Grand Prix, it's insane. Like they just go out and support their British guys, and there's a lot of them on the grid.
I have a friend of mine who's like a massive. I've known her since we were like 5 years old, and she's a massive. Like she goes every single year, and like one of our friends who we call it primary school. It's like elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to school together, and she's literally like booked her plane tickets to go see her best friend in the UK, just to go to the Grand Prix as well. So
Dude,
yeah,
it's a religion for sure.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting as well. It was only really, I guess with this Grand Prix and this sort of year of F1 really coming up as a really popular sport that I realized I mean it's again for us, but it's like the Grand Prix every year type thing, but actually seeing it as being like again, like you said, the World Cup of motorsport is mass. It's like it really took me by surprise, like how I really really recognize this year, like this is a huge event, and that's sort of great to be literally so close to it.
Can't believe you didn't tell me that before, but now I know. I might hit you up next year for sure.
Yes.
Yes. But moving maybe on to some of the real life events in Australia in terms of like collecting, like just some curious questions, like how do you currently buy, sell, or trade cards? What's that kind of process look like, say in Melbourne or in Australia in general?
Well, I'm a bit sneaky because I have a PO box in America. So basically, so
nice.
I know it was interesting actually, because the number one, probably biggest barrier down here to, again, of course, the US market is, I mean, it sets the tone for the whole hobby.
Yeah.
But I mean, so I guess we're semi-limited in the sense that just that real depth of cards is not available here. Mm-hmm. So I'm sneaky. I basically have a PO box in America. I switched my eBay to being like the US eBay, and I just buy whatever. Like I buy most of my stuff is off eBay.
That's smart. Yeah.
Yeah. Just get everything shipped to that PO box. Then when I decide to get everything shipped out, I just have it all at once, and I get it FedExed here.
Amazing.
But I mainly buy off eBay, like mainly through auctions. I actually joined PWCC I used to buy PWCC's eBay, but then I actually only recently began bidding on some of their stuff on their own website, because it was just it. Yes, I haven't bought anything yet, but there are a few things I've been bidding on. That
is it because you just like the inventory that's on PWCC's that have caught your eye, or do you know what the process looks like would you be able to receive it back in Australia at a decent shipping rate?
Yeah, I would still probably ship it to my PO box rather than having anything directly shipped out here. I'd rather just have it, for what might be the same price in shipping and customs. I'd rather have everything shipped at once.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I just wouldn't risk it. I mean, it's not terrible. I mean, it probably wouldn't be terrible, but it's just probably more cost efficient just to have it, just once and just FedEx. Because it's literally
sometimes I feel like it's efficient too, kind of like what you're doing, have it all shipped to one place in the US and then just fly over. You just make a trip out of it. Just come and then travel for a few weeks and grab your cards and go home.
Yeah, that's a very, very good idea. Just give me an excuse to come. I'll be like, it's too expensive to ship.
I gotta go.
Just come. It's cheaper to come and just get it all. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because FedEx. The times that I've used FedEx to ship everything out here, I've been very impressed with the service. I think I can't remember if USPS is. They used to ship out. It was just after 2020 that they were still shipping out. But I think because there was a bit of a COVID balloon in 2021, so all the everyone got really, really sick in like Sydney and stuff, so they basically stopped. USPS stopped shipping here. From I don't know if that's resumed, but FedEx was still going. So I just used FedEx, and it's literally like a few days, like 3 days from wherever to the mainland, and it actually takes longer to get processed in Australia than it does to actually
get over there. Interesting.
It's probably a week, I'd say, including weekends, because I mean we don't. Our postal system basically doesn't operate on a weekend. Probably like I think DHL, like the big courier, does, but not Australia Post, definitely not. I think FedEx you can, but
yeah, that makes sense.
That's sort of how everything just get it shipped to that one PO box and just shipped out.
That's really smart. Yeah.
Me, I'm always I think I'm I just want to get the cards in hand though. That's why I don't like waiting. So I probably spend a heck of a lot of money on shipping just because I'm like, oh, okay, I just want this card in hand, So it's probably the biggest downside to that is just not after buying. You get that sort of rush after you won an auction. You're like, oh yeah, I just want to get this. Oh, I just want to get it in hand. But no, I have to wait.
You have to wait. And so maybe that's a good segue to my next question for you, Alex. Is like, what's the biggest challenge of being an international collector?
I actually wouldn't say that the biggest challenge is supply. For me, it's just the networking with people is probably the biggest change in Australia. I feel like we only recently began, there was this convention. We only recently started this convention called the Hobby Hangout, which is basically, it probably happens a few times a year, where it's just sort of maybe in Melbourne, maybe Brisbane or Sydney, I think it's been, where it's just sort of like a little stalls and sort of just a general kind of collectors, meeting each other and hanging out. But I mean, it's not nearly as, on a scale as the national. But I just feel like, it's just miles is the biggest barrier here in Australia. Because I just miss just networking with the wonderful people that I've met through, this hobby. I mean, it's definitely a bigger barrier than a few days worth of waiting for stuff to come in, I just miss everyone. But, like I said, I finished up my studies this year, so God willing, I'll be on a plane soon, just coming over there, seeing everyone. But so there's definitely not, there's nothing like, definitely nothing like the national, and definitely, nothing like Mint Collective or just in general shows is, something that's missing here. And I think it's the biggest barrier is just like, I feel like this, I mean, the hobby community is smaller, but I feel like we don't get the opportunity to sort of interact as much.
Gotcha.
That's
one thing that I realized when I was talking to Helga from our episode 1 was, so the culture of post-COVID, a lot of these shows happening and gatherings happening around cards. It's extremely obviously beneficial for different ways, like networking, becoming friends, and also just, building that trust-based relationships where if there were any cards in the future that, that's, for example, if I know that, a certain card would interest you, I will let you know about it, things like that. It's incredibly useful. But I think at the foundation layer of the shows, Mint Collective was a exception in my opinion. It's very network oriented and industry information oriented sort of event. But any other shows, I genuinely believe, because in the US the culture and the infrastructure being available to buy, sell quickly, right, and trade quickly, right? Like I can buy something today and sell it within 10 minutes to a person that lives 5 minutes down, things like that, create a very positive sort of perspective on shows, and therefore a lot of people want to host shows, go to shows, set up at shows, things like that. But because I feel like there's not as much of velocity in let's call it flipping in international cities, okay, so you get people together, everyone's just kind of like, hello, so what do you collect, right? And then I mean, there could be great conversations and friendships that come out of it, but at the core of it, for example, I don't see Sam from Women of the Hobby for more than like twice a year, right? We meet at the National and we met at the Mint. Because we're geographically far apart, and I don't go to shows. I can't commit to shows on the weekends because I have kids. Sam also has like a ton of stuff going on the weekend, so we rarely actually go to shows. But really, the connective tissue really is like digital platforms that I've really appreciated. Obviously, we're on the same time zone and stuff like that, so it helps. But like we build like this, we build a relationship first, and then when we meet in person, that's when like everything just like hits home. And like we're extremely like excited to be there together. So like for example, you and me, like we have never met in person, but we've had like digital connections multiple times. And so the next time I see you, it's gonna be like, this is amazing, right? Like seeing you in real flesh. So yeah, I wonder like if it's something that can be developed in other cities, or if it's just like because the culture of like flipping is not really there. If the turnout and like the amount of like passion and like spotlight that goes into shows here in the US will actually be present.
I'll go back to your comment about the culture of flipping. I feel like that's definitely something that's not as prevalent here as it is in the US, because again, not only are we restricted we can't just go up to PSA. There's no PSA headquarters in Australia that we can just walk up, literally do the walkthrough and, and just have that really, really quick turnaround for grading. We have, even for BGS, it'll be at least, the turnaround times have probably been about, if you want like an okay price, it's probably about a month or so. So, even then it's not, I think if you want to, do like a quick flip, I feel like you can't really do that here again. So having that sort of, as a seller, well, first of all, as a buyer, if I'm not like I am a buyer to flip, I feel like that process is definitely not, I don't know anyone 5 minutes down the road, who flex, but so I guess in that sense, finding if I buy something with the intention of flipping it, I'm not going to just flip it in 5 minutes.
Right. Right. Exactly.
So, it's just not. Yeah, it's just not present here.
It's not there.
Even when everyone went through the craze of, pulling every single 1920 Prism rookie, and then grading it and flipping it and selling it. Trust me, I had some bulk come back. There are a couple of like Hero 9s, not.
Oh dear.
Not. There's definitely that that sense of, oh, what was I thinking? But stuff that we did at the end of 2020, and it's only just slowly coming back. It was probably the beginning of this year that a lot of our value and bulk and stuff came back, and of course, a lot of but yes, that was again. I know you guys probably got a lot of your like value stuff back probably at the end of 2021, but again for us, as the market's going like this with that kind of stuff, there's less fewer opportunities, I guess, to capitalize on flipping that. So
yeah, for sure.
Names were not judging the likes of Tyler Hero and Kobe White, but there were a fair few in there.
Man, I used to collect Hero quite crazy too.
Yeah, there were a fair few. Barrett's not as bad. I think it was probably what Kobe White and Tyler Hero were probably. Yeah, I think that everyone was like, oh yeah, everyone in the pandemic was like, oh, I've got Hero and Kobe White, and they're going to the woohoo! I'm gonna go and grade it now, and it was super cheap, and when as it's gone like this, we've been looking really, really, really nervously, and then we're just like, do I even really want to look at this? Yeah.
Oh man, that's so funny. But no, thanks for sharing that. I think you should set like lunch or brunch or like dinners for that kind of like community. I like that's something that I thought about. Okay, like if shows is not something that's attractive or that'll have like high turnaround, maybe starting from like small lunches and get-togethers or drinks, whatever it may be, would be like a fun way to kind of get everyone together. They may not necessarily have to bring all their cards, but everybody shares something similar. and you can build upon that maybe. So
We
yeah.
had it was when we had I think it was in March that we had our hobby hangout in Melbourne, but also that was on a
Nice.
Sunday. But we also had, I think it's the first time in a long time, I wasn't there, but that Cherry we did our like first sort of big sort of trade day thing on a Saturday in Melbourne. And just from the looks of, what the guys were saying, it was great just to have, it was packed, because we also recently moved from our location in King Street, which was, quite, the shop front was quite small, and during COVID, it was just sort of click and collect, and, was no browsing. Versus now, we're massive. Like, we finally have like a sort of showroomy type thing where we've brought back, our value box, like $1, $2, $5, $10 boxes, and now people just, like it was really pre-COVID, where everyone would literally just take a box or just, sit down at the table and just, browse again. And I felt like that was when we finally opened our new store, and, we got the customers in for the trade day, and it was just seeing, again, putting faces to names, and just getting that interaction back again, which I definitely think it's coming back again.
Yeah.
For a long time, that was something that was absent,
That is very interesting. That's cool that you guys are doing that, and I hope it continues to grow. And
we get requests for like trade nights and trade days, so we're going to take that on board.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that was a lot of interesting conversation from that one. But I guess one kind of other question that I have for you is, do you feel like collectors based in Australia leverage, like you mentioned that you're starting to kind of look into PWCC, leverage other platforms other than eBay to get their itches, fixed?
Probably not, I'd say. I feel like, just from probably the two major sources of, where people sort of buy their stuff it's basically eBay and like little Facebook group, like NBA trading cards, group Australia type thing. I still feel like a lot of collectors in Australia don't buy as much on an international level, with the US. I feel like, I think a lot of people still do. And there are certainly some, more high-end collectors that I know who have bought through Golden or who have bought through PWCC. I think it's not for everyone. And I think, I think people mainly stick to sort of, just sort of small. There are lots of little, whether it's trading cards Australia or NBA cards Australia. I think people prefer to have, I think it's, again, convenience is for me, it's not a big thing because I've got my PO box, but convenience for a lot of people here is, just having that sort of local kind of, deal, and like having like local deals, no real issues with postage. Because I think postage definitely internationally is still like a big barrier for a lot of people. I know it's not, we're not sort of, scared of it or anything like that, but it's just, it's
inconvenience, right?
It's the inconvenience. It's the hassle. And I think people just prefer to just, most people in the group, in the trading card buy and sell group, know each other anyway. So they just prefer to have that sort of, reliable connection and interaction at the local scale. And so I'd probably say, that it's still mainly sort of eBay and just little Facebook groups.
Gotcha. Do you think there's like a bit of like awareness, like that there are these platforms that are existing?
There is a lot of awareness. Everyone knows about, these auction houses or these platforms. Like, most people would know about Alt or PWCC, the platforms, but I just don't think, I always feel like trends in the hobby in America, there's almost like a lag before that sort of hits Australia. It's I don't know, I wouldn't say mileage is the reason why, but I think it usually takes us a little bit of time to sort of catch on, and then sort of, like, I feel like something like, MetaZoo only really recently came out here, even though it sort of was, it was hyped up in America, and then it sort of, plateaued a little bit, but then it's sort of only recently you have boxes and packs and stuff in stores. It's just, look, maybe there could be people will begin to use PWCC more. I still feel like, something like golden is still perceived as very, very high end.
Gotcha.
And then, it's for a lot of people here, it might be out of their price range. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Mm.
Well, I think we're down to our last kind of topic here already, Alex. And I'm going to ask this to everyone who joins us. What is one card in your collection that you will never consider selling? Like literally a knife to your neck, and you're like, ugh.
Look, my answer would have been more definitive even a few weeks ago, because the card that I would have fought tooth and nail to keep, I've actually sold.
Oh.
Look, I thought about this, and I couldn't. I'm going to disappoint you because I don't have one that I would fight tooth and nail. I really don't. I think a lot of people have given me, like, they know I love, female basketball players and stuff. They know I love Lauren Jackson because she's Aussie. I've got this. Actually, it was one of our colleagues. It was actually Josh, who I first met at Cherry, who gave me this really cool. The shivers. The game used Lauren Jackson patch. Yeah, I would never give that up for a heartbeat. So that was pretty cool. But actually something as well that I picked up recently, actually a few days ago. I haven't posted it because I'm planning to grade it. But actually this, because of Australia's a Commonwealth country, yeah. So this is a 1935 princess, but she's now the Queen, Elizabeth card. Yeah, it's like a tobacco card. Carreras from 1935. Yeah, so that's Queen Elizabeth when she was like really, really, really young.
Oh my gosh! What?
Yeah.
Like, was it manufactured in Australia?
No, it was manufactured in the UK, but it was actually an Australian seller who sold it to me.
Interesting.
But yeah, so that, I wouldn't ever. I mean, it's not hugely, in value, but I definitely would never. There's no point in me giving. I would never want to give it up because it's just, again, everything that I have, or most of the things I have, are sentimental. Actually, there's one thing that it's sort of. I mean, it's been authenticated by PSA, and I'm tempted to. It's technically not a card, but it's still something I've shown on my Instagram. I would fight. This is something I would really fight tooth and nail. Is my Adele signed vinyl. There you go.
I want that. Wow, that is cool.
There we go. PSA authenticated as well.
Oh.
And the letter.
I see. Is it just the vinyl, or do you have it like in a plastic cover?
No, it's the actual. It comes with the actual. It's got the actual like vinyl itself. I've got a vinyl player, but
so cool.
I actually have another copy of this that's not signed. That I play, but
that
yeah, I bought
really
that.
Cool.
So that's sort of that. I mean, card wise, I've sold a lot of my recently. I've sold a lot of my bigger cards just for just to try and make a little nest egg for myself and just sort of focus on sort of life goals, which is probably why there was a gap in probably January or so when I wasn't posting as much. It's just sort of, life stuff sort of happened. And, I feel like I definitely sold some bigger cards to, just sort of fund that and just sort of fund savings. But so that's why, again, a lot of what I've got is sentimental and I wouldn't, there's no point in me selling it. But that is, even though it's not a card, it's something you would have to literally just bash me to get it off.
That's really cool. That Queen Elizabeth, I guess, card or whatever you want to call it, are you sending that to SGC or PSA for that?
PSA. I'm going to PSA it. Actually, because there's only one. It's a Pop 14 thing.
Oh, so they are in existence. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean they are, but there's one listed on eBay for $5,000 at a PSA 9. But there's, there's certainly no way that it'd be necessarily worth 5,000. I mean, the PWCC have sold. That's one of the things I love about PWCC, just scrolling through like the sales history from like years ago. Yeah, and so they've sold some of them, but yeah, I mean, I think for me, I just want it in a PSA holder just to sort of encapsulate it and make it, but I'll never sell it.
Because I feel like because SGC, like some folks like to grade their vintage stuff with SGC,
I've got an old Pele.
See?
It's not really that old. You see, I don't mind Pele, like older stuff in SGC, but I still, I mean, part of me just still loves PSA anyway. But
yeah,
I mean, I've got like, I mean, I'm not as a bigger fan as BVG. Like, there's my Maradona from.
Oh, that's nice too.
Yeah, let me have a look. I'm terrible with stuff. Here. I'm really, really bad. There you go. Yeah, that's cool. Yes, I mean, it's again not a huge one, but it's a one. But yeah, it's a 79 Maradona. But I mean, so I've got vintage cards graded by. I've got 3 different grading companies worth of vintage cards here. But I think for me, I like PSA probably the most. Yeah.
Wow, yeah. Thanks for showing us your legit collection. That was really cool, especially that Queen Elizabeth. That's got me.
Yeah, I know. It's. I think it's crazy because again, I mean, the fact that we're just a Commonwealth country, and I think a lot of us really, even my family's from the UK, so it's just that sort of personal connection in a way, and just something like that. I mean, you see, a lot of people will think there's also a 1952. I think Topps did like a random it was called Topps Look and See, and it's like sort of portrait. Really vintage. So that was the first sort of Topps card of Queen Elizabeth that's selling quite well. But this is like I hate attaching the phrase rookie card to everything, but this is basically her rookie card. There are a few others as well that I've seen that's from 1935. But I mean, anything pre-war for me is just really, really interesting and just unique.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Thanks for showing us that, and thanks for your time. And hopefully we can see you whenever you are visiting the States or anywhere else. But if anyone else is visiting Melbourne or Australia, make sure to go say hi to Alex at Cherries. I'm sure they'll show you a good time. I can't wait to visit them when I can. So yeah, no, thanks again, Alex. And everyone, where can people find you, Alex?
Alexa Collects, Alexa Collects on Instagram is basically my main port of call. Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.
That was awesome.